Hi guys, this is Dante with Drive and Thrive. Today we're going to talk about work-life balance and some considerations to take into account if you're a full-time driver. Watch to the very end and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on news, tips, and tricks for Ubereats, DoorDash, and Postmates. Okay guys, so having a good work-life balance is really important in any job, but it is especially true for us as full-time drivers. Whether it's scheduling, how to handle food, your breaks, taking time for vacation, right? So all of these things are really important considerations to take into account. So I'm going to talk about 5 major considerations that I've been thinking about recently, and how to balance each of these considerations to make our lives and our jobs happier. So the first thing I want to talk about is scheduling. Having the ability to set your own hours is a really huge benefit with being an Uber Eats driver, DoorDash, Postmates. You're able to work when you want, work as much as you want, work as little as you want. And it's a huge benefit about being a driver. But one of the downsides of that is sometimes you can either work too much or work too little. You have to hold yourself accountable as a driver, and you really get to decide your schedule. Now, I've gone through periods of working far, far too much, and then I've gone through periods of not working enough, right? And so I've thought about, well, how can I make this better for myself? How do I avoid burning out on one end by working too much? And how do I avoid not working enough on the other end? So one thing I like to do is set a schedule for myself for the week, regardless of whether or not we have a boss or not. We're our own bosses. I think that it's important for us to set a schedule, to write it down, to write it on our phones, and try to keep to it as best as we can, because it really helps avoid those 2 huge negative impacts. For example, when I first started driving, I worked 12 hours a day every day for weeks on end. I was just trying to make as much money as possible. But there were a few really bad consequences to that. One, for example, is when you start to work 10 plus hours a day, and your time becomes limited, it becomes so easy to just eat fast food every meal or to eat restaurant food every single meal. And so that brings me to my second point, which is food considerations. I picked up a lot of weight. You don't realize when you're driving. I mean, sure, you're getting out sometimes and delivering to the door, but all you're doing for hours and hours on end is sitting. So it's akin to having a desk job. So of course, you might want to schedule in some time to exercise, to work out. But B, you might want to take that into consideration if you're working 12 hours a day, 10 hours, 12 hours every single day, and you're doing 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Take into consideration that you might want to pack a healthy lunch with you. You might want to pack your dinner. Might want to pack your snacks. And a third point that I should make is breaks. Make sure to give yourself breaks when you're driving. And I don't mean just the breaks in between deliveries, but I mean set up a 30-minute or an hour break for yourself just to decompress and to ease some of the stress of driving, ease some of the stress of the day, because it can be easy to never take a break. All right, but you're your own boss, and so think of yourself as your own employee and give yourself some breaks. Trust me, you're going to feel a lot better if you do, especially if you're working a 12-hour day with no breaks and you do it for days on end. That can lead to serious burnout. And when I've burnt out in the past, I've gone days or even weeks at a time without driving because I'm just burnt out. And then when I start driving again, It's not healthy just to do 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours, right? It will catch up with you eventually. So try to pack healthy food, or try to give yourself enough time to go home to eat real meals, because just sitting in your car, driving long hours, and eating fast food every meal will catch up to you. Okay, now hand in hand with that is give yourself vacation. So if you've been and set aside, budget some money to set aside for vacation. If you're working, even if you're working 8 hours a day, but especially if you're going really, really hard and working 12 hours a day, and you do that for weeks and months on end, reward yourself with a vacation. Definitely make sure to give yourself some time to decompress, whether or not it's a day here or a day here, or whether or not it's a whole week or a whole month. Give yourself some vacation time so that you don't mentally and physically break down. Because this is an easy job, we think. But like with everything, driving for hours on end, dealing with traffic, dealing with the stress of restaurants, etc., it all tends to add up eventually. And if you don't treat your body and your mind properly, well, you're violating a work-life balance equilibrium, and it will come back to haunt you, whether or not it's getting sick, or whether or not it's getting depressed, or whether or not it's gaining weight. All of these things can happen without us being aware of it. And most of the time, it's from overwork. But again, the flip side of that is not working enough. Always punishing yourself if you're not out there on the road working enough, possibly because you've burnt yourself out. So not working enough or working way, way too much. Both of those things can be solved if you write your schedule out and try to stick to it as much as you possibly can. Okay, so this is my final point, and that's accountability and motivation. One thing about just being out there driving on your own is you get to work as much as you want, or as little as you want. How do you keep yourself motivated to get out there and work? And how do you hold yourself accountable to having a very high standard as a food delivery driver? Like with anything, working for months on end, the same job over and over again with no accountability, you may start to slack off a little bit. You may start to cut corners. Or I know a lot of people who will, either when they first start off, but especially after months of driving, they may have 2 or 3 apps open at the same time while they're driving. They might juggle through, might do a Ubereats delivery and a DoorDash delivery at the same time, try to maximize money. Anything to break the tedium of months on end. You know what I mean? So don't do that. I haven't made a video about not doing that, but don't do multiple apps at a time. Even if you've gotten away with it in the past, it's a bad idea. It's a bad habit to do. I don't advise doing it. I don't advise delivering at the same time. You might have multiple apps open at the same time and accept one and log off on the others. Don't accept deliveries from multiple apps at the same time. It's a bad idea. By the way, they very well might catch you doing it, so it's a bad idea overall. But I think it's important to hold yourself accountable as a professional, as a business person, and as your own employee. Hold yourself accountable to a high standard at all times. And if you feel your standard starting to slip, that may be a sign that you're just burnt out. That may be a sign to, take a day off. Take 2 days off. Don't worry. It'll still be there. Whenever you want to deliver, all you have to do is turn on the apps and you'll be ready to go. And my electricity just went out. Okay, so the electricity went out, which means I've been talking for too long. So I'm just going to wrap this up by saying it is very important to think about yourself when doing anything you do. And so even though this job may seem easy or non-stressful, trust me, things build up over time. Make sure to take care of yourself. Make sure to set a schedule and try to keep it if you can. Make sure to take breaks. Give yourself breaks. Make sure to pack food or to eat healthy food, because you're probably not going to be moving around a lot. Make sure to take a vacation if you've been doing this for weeks and months on end. And also hold yourself accountable to a very high standard of professionalism. And that's my video on work-life balance. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I myself have taken a bit of a vacation from making videos, but I'm back now. And so I should be making a video every day again. So hopefully I can stick to that. Hopefully I can keep myself motivated for that. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and comment. Let me know what you think. What ways do you stay motivated? What ways do you hold yourself accountable? What ways do you help your work-life balance? So this is Dante with Drive and Thrive. And wait a second. You know what? My send-off should be, and it used to be, make sure to get out there and drive and thrive. Bitch, I wanna party like Chris Farley. And my electricity just went out.